Hello, so I'm going to show you a roughly 15-minute do-it-yourself reflexology that's going to help you with digestion. I've seen really crazy results with reflexology for helping people to get them to poo, basically. So as my girlfriend calls it, I'm going to show you a little bowel rub. So if you want to get some oil or something, do feel free to. Get in a position that's going to be really comfortable. You might want pillows and things, pillows to go under your knees, behind your back, and in between feet, feel free to have a little stretch. I do have longer videos on my website if you look at like sleep school and things, which will show you like a full routine, but this is just really focusing in on like one part of the body. Ideally, we would love to be balancing all systems of the body, but I appreciate sometimes time is of the essence and efficiency. We really want to focus on that one thing. So I'm going to start on your right foot. And yeah, if you want to get some balm, I'm not going to use some balm just because I'll need to be adjusting my screen and things and moving around a bit more so you can actually see my feet. So let me just double check all my settings. Fabulous. Okay, so let me get it so you can see my foot. Okay, so you're going to start on your right foot and just open up the foot by pressing in. Sorry if you can hear rumbling in the background. I think we have people moving in next door. So just kind of gently working in to each part of the foot. If you're going through any IVF treatment, please avoid the heels, as this is where all the reproductive reflexes are. And that's actually why I'm originally recording this video, is for someone going through IVF. So if you want to, we're just going to start circling into the toe, the big toe, and this is the head reflex. So for some people, digestive issues really start off because they're very stressed. And then just working into the ball of the foot here. So this is where the lung reflexes are. You can sort of gently wiggle and open. There's lots and lots of reflexes here, the same in the toes, but we're just going to really get into this central part of the foot here. So you've got the ball of the foot. You're going to pop two fingers down directly underneath the ball of the foot in line with your big toe. And the area that those two fingers cover, this is the stomach reflex. So you can work in with your thumb. You can use the flat of your knuckles to work in more deeply. You can see my wrist is at a really strange angle. If I was doing this, actually, yeah, I can do my other hand. Yeah, so make sure your wrists aren't like turning in at odd angles. So like change what hand you use, so you're not causing any strain on the wrist or anything. And if any area you feel a kind of like a slight crunchy sensation or like this kind of bubble wrap under your skin, that's saying that you want to spend a little bit more time in that specific area. And also feel free at any point just to pause this video and like focus in on each little bit if you want to spend more time. But we're going to move along to the outside edge of the heel, not the heel, that's an absolute lie, the outside edge of the foot, sorry, in line with the little toe. And just where underneath, like imagining there's a line that comes across here. This is the diaphragm reflex. So working just from that point down to the redness at the heel. So you can walk across like this, or you can pull down, and this is the liver reflex. So work very gently here. If you're currently going through IVF, we're thinking about like medications and things, just nice and gentle work here. But obviously the liver's got many, 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 many functions. And when it comes to digestion, it does have many roles. So working in there. And then you're going to find your third toe, draw a line down to, again, where that sort of diaphragm line was. And if you sort of were to move your toes around, you might kind of feel the bottom of the joint. This is the pancreas reflex. So just working in there. And then if you just step along so you're then in line with that fourth toe, then that's the gallbladder reflex in there. So yeah, you've got pancreas, gallbladder, and then in line with this one, the liver. So I'm just going to take a little step inside where that liver reflex was. So just coming in and imagine there's a line going up towards your fourth toe. So we're starting to trace where the large intestine goes. So this is the ascending colon that's coming up. You're going to get about halfway across the foot. You're going to do a little right angle and then walk across. So this is the transverse colon. So inside your body, it's starting to go up and across, and then it will go onto the left side of the body as well. So we're starting to trace that line. So if you're really struggling with constipation, this is the bit that you actually really want to spend your time on. So walking up in line with that fourth toe, so just sort of on the inside of the slight redness of that outside edge of the foot, coming up. Now I'm using this sort of caterpillar walking motion the whole time. Turn a right angle and across. And then we're going to keep doing that across motion all the way down the foot towards the redness of the heel. So digestive system, it's just this whole area here. So if it's easier for you to come across with both hands, alternating, so if I was just to relax, you can kind of see the position that my hands are in. I'm just doing these odd angles mainly so you can see. So ultimately, if you're getting into this whole area here, you might do this sort of feeling in treatments where you're coming up the middle and out the outside edge. Another way to work into some of those big digestive reflexes. You can do like a figure of 8. And I quite like to do these different kind of ways of walking across. So you're really covering the entire surface area of the foot, really feeling for those little bits where you find those kind of like gritty, gristly bits of tension. So you can really get into those because they're the bits that you want to like get moving. So the idea with reflexology is you want to disperse those little crunchy bits. And some of those might move quite quickly if it's just an acute thing you're experiencing. But if you've got long-term like digestive issues, you're likely going to feel those kind of crunchy, gristly sensations under the feet the vast majority of the time. But working into them, it's like telling your body those are the areas that you want to spend some more time on, then needing a bit more care and attention. You can also then use the tips of your knuckles if you want to kind of pull down this part of the foot. It's one way of kind of getting into lots of different reflexes at once without putting lots of stress on your joints. And then if you want to, you can come along, let me just move this down a bit, the inside edge of the heel. So you've got the spine reflex running all along the inside arch of your foot. But this kind of top area here, so it's running just underneath this big ankle bone, pulling back. You might feel there's a slight dip in the back of the ankle here. This is the lumbar spine reflex running along here. So it's quite high up the sort of foot. You don't want to be coming low down, so like quite high up. So find that ankle bone and sort of directly running underneath that. And that's the lumbar spine. So I like to work this from a nerve root perspective, as this is where a lot of the reproductive and digestive nerve roots are starting in the lumbar spine. So just sort of caterpillar walking all along there. So before we move on to the other foot, if there's any particular areas that you like, I felt that kind of tension, spend a bit more time in those individual bits. You can sort of hook your thumb in and get things moving. So you can spend like anything up to 5 to 10 minutes on this part of your foot before moving on to the other foot, just really based on how much time you've got and how you're feeling. So if you put oil on, then you might want to put a sock on. Have a little stretch around, because I know if you're not used to sitting in that kind of position, it can put a lot of tension onto your lower back. So just have a wiggle, a little twist, a little stretch, and just making sure you feel comfortable. That's why I say get lots of pillows so you're nice and supported when you're doing it on yourself. So I'm gonna just move again so you can then see my foot best. See how this looks. This will do. So then, yeah, moving on to the left foot. So there's some slightly different reflexes going on, as the right foot represents the right side of the body and the left. So slightly different reflexes, but still really focusing on that digestive system. So We're just going to open up the foot again by working into each part of the foot. So I always think of the parts being like, well, we work in zones in reflexology. So we've got zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, zone 4, zone 5. Just opening each of them up. If you want to, like we did in the last foot, starting with the head reflex, working into that big toe. Oh, reflexology always makes me sleepy. Opening up the chest, nice kind of gentle push and pull there. Then starting just as we did last time. You're going to put your 2 fingers down just underneath the ball of the foot and the area that this is kind of covering. I imagine it to look like sort of a quarter of a circle here. Maybe a bit longer than that, sort of like is that an oblong shape? I don't really know what shape that is, but yeah, so a quarter of a circle here. And this is the stomach reflex. So this is really where a lot of it is kind of starting. Well, starting the esophagus actually, which is in between the joints of these 2 toes here coming down. If you've got heartburn or nausea, working in between these 2 joints here. And if you thought of that like quarter of a circle, if there was like the point of it here, then you're really hook in there if you're getting heartburn, indigestion, nausea, anything like that. So yeah, working in to that stomach reflex. Now here we don't have the gallbladder or the pancreas, but we're coming to that outside edge again, like we did for the liver that comes the whole way down. You're going to feel there's like a little joint just here on that outside edge of the foot. So from where that imaginary diaphragm line was to that joint, this little area here, it's underneath the outside your little toe. That's the one. Forgot the name. Pulling down, this is the spleen reflex. So we work this part of the digestive system. And then we're going to kind of follow a really similar shape to last time. So you can work that one for longer if you want. But the shape that we're following is like 3 sides of a rectangle. So we're going to come across. So like in that stomach reflex here. So sort of from underneath there to in line with your 4th toe coming down. So just on that inside of where that spleen reflex is, so coming down, then you get to the redness of the heel, you're going to take a right angle and walk across. So what we're doing is we're mirroring what's happening in the body, so we're walking across here for the transverse colon, then the descending colon in line with your 4th toe coming all the way down, turn a right angle across the top of the redness of the heel, and this is the sigmoid colon. So I found a lot of people that are struggling with constipation, particularly the sigmoid colon, so just right this part across here, really working any of this kind of part here. The true sigmoid colon runs just across the top here, but I find this whole kind of lower area can be quite congested in the foot. So really spending some time in that area, but more than anything, as I've said before, focusing for where you feel the little gritty bits, the bits of tension, like this bubble wrap under the skin, that's where you want to spend more time. Then walking across, so you're covering this whole area here. I don't actually know if I said that on the other foot. This is the small intestine. By walking across the whole of like the digestive reflex, we're getting into the small intestine here. I don't think I said that last time, sorry. And just finding ways to work in. You might even want to pull down. Sometimes this isn't a true way I was taught, but I might just walk up the whole foot. And just trying to find, yeah, lots of different ways to cover the whole surface area. Because sometimes the sort of direction you travel, whether you're pushing, you're pulling down the foot, allows you to feel different things. So just making sure I'm feeling, yeah, as many ways as possible as I can to get across the foot, to find those little bits of tension to work into them. And if you find one, you can just stay there. That's totally fine. Do figure of eight if you like. Remember, also use the knuckles. So you could use the flat of the knuckles if you don't want to go in as deeply. This is quite nice. You can do kind of circles like this. Actually, yeah, I quite often do this to sort of like really getting in with the knuckles, but a bit of movement rather than just up and down. Don't know if that's any good for my joints, but I'll do it. Or you can use the tips of your knuckles to get in a bit more deeply. You'll also probably get in more deeply if you are using some kind of like oil, lotion, moisturizer than if you are not like me right now. But just to show that you can do it without and you'll still get a nice effect. Then coming along that inside, that's better. The inside arch of the foot. So the spine reflex runs all along this inside part here, kind of following the curves of the foot. If you're working into this part here, you're using the bone as a guide, but working into the fleshy part of the foot underneath. The lumbar spine is a bit harder to find. So remember, we've got the ankle bone and like drawing a line that comes directly underneath here. It's quite high up the foot. So you're not kind of cutting across. If we were thinking of this bit being the foot, we're not cutting across here. We're not coming along the bottom. We're really staying quite high up. So just underneath the ball of the foot. And then as you're doing that, you might feel there's kind of a little dip just right at the back of the ankle there. And then working across this whole bit here is across the lumbar spine. This little dip there, that's this, what did I say, the cervix? I do not mean that. Coccyx, there we go. Pulling all the way along there. If you're doing it on yourself, just kind of come across here. You can always just pull back with your fingers. Find a way to work it, but you're not doing this. You want to avoid this on your wrist as much as you can. It just puts in strange tension and things. It's not good. And just give your whole foot a bit of a wiggle. Any areas that you're like, oh, I want to spend a bit more time there, feel free to. If you're like, I need more, go back and just repeat this sequence. Or as I said on my website, there's Sleep School, and there's like longer videos that you can follow. So yeah, that is a little do-it-yourself, particularly for like digestive issues. I'd say really notice it more so with constipation. It is good for diarrhea as well, like if you're more towards that looser end of the scale. But yeah, particularly I feel better results with constipated. So lots and lots of fluids if you're struggling with your digestion, of course, fiber and things, avoiding anything that aggravates your digestion, and light and gentle movement and things can be helpful. Oh, actually, that's the point. I know I said do a twist for your back, but if you're watching this and you're doing IVF, no twisting. But yeah, that's everything from me. I hope that's helpful. If anyone has any questions, just shout. Oh, sorry, lots of banging going on. And yeah, I hope that's helpful. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.